Every time I met with key ministers and government officials and academics, they all appeared very energized and enthusiastic when they talked about their relations with China. So I realized I had to look further into this, and many of them told me that they saw their relations with China as an opportunity to break the neo-colonial grip of the Western powers by cooperating stronger and deeper with China. That certainly then started to open up a new research area for me, because one thing is to study modalities of neocolonialism in the past in historical context, and then other issue is to study how do the African states try to break away from that system. And obviously it became very clear to me that China was the main actor that they wanted to cooperate with in order to do this. The Tarsara railway project was negotiated in the early 1960s after Zambia's independence. They wanted to develop and industrialize Zambia, and the same for Tanzania. But Zambia was a landlocked country, and from what my research in Zambia and in Tanzania, it appears that some Western powers would not accept Zambia to become an industrialized nation. So they wanted to prevent that from happening, for example, by blocking the export of Zambian copper that should function as a way to start up the accumulation for industrialization. So they contacted some Western donors to see if they could get support for a railway from Zambia to Tanzania, and that was rejected. So instead they looked to China. And from the information I got from that time was that they were a bit not sure that China could be supportive of this, because China was itself in the stage of development and not a very rich country at that time. But they met. They went to Beijing. They met with the Chinese delegations and brought it up. And China ended up saying yes to support that railway project. And I think the way I see it is that's where it really starts a very close relations between China and Africa. So Tarsara is absolutely an iconic project and monument for that relation. Now, one of the things I found really interesting in relation to the history of Tarsara and what is important today is that we can use the historical experience of Tarsara to understand what's happening in Africa today in terms of China-Africa relations, but also in relation to how some Western powers respond to that. Many of the African leaders have that view that some Western powers are not interested in having an industrialized Africa. They prefer Africa to export its natural resources to their countries. They process the resources and they sell it back to Africa for a higher price. The Tarsara here again is a very important symbol on and global governance initiatives. But in general, there is a very strong alignment, and the South-South cooperation between China and Africa, I see that as very important. Africa views China as a way in which they can industrialize and get their people out of poverty. The Chinese development model stands as a very successful model for many African states.